In a world full of distractions, there is one big question on every dog owner's lips.
How do I become more than just the person holding the other end of the leash?
We all get dogs with a dream in mind, a vision of the future. And if right now your everyday reality isn't quite that picture you had in mind, you are in the right place.
It really doesn't have to be this way.
You absolutely can and will be more to your dog than just the person who gets in between them and the world.
The key is you need to be more sexy.
More sexy than the neighbourhood cat.
More sexy than the jogger in the park.
More sexy than that half-eaten hamburger they just found on the floor.
And yes, even more sexy than the dog across the road.
I'm Tom.
And I'm Lauren.
Together we're absolute dogs.
And you're listening to the Sexier Than a Squirrel podcast.
Hello and welcome to the Sexier Than a Squirrel podcast, the podcast that teaches you how to overcome environmental distractions, create a dog who is super confident, and just quite simply be the very best dog owner your dog could ever wish for.
Now, it's a happy new year.
Oh, it is.
We're setting New Year's intentions.
Yeah. Welcome to 2021, guys.
Woo! And actually, this is our very first 2021 podcast, and we want to set it out with a bang. We want it to have super cool intentions. We want it to have all of the results that you dream of, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And so what we're dedicating this episode to is a bit of a tips tennis, back and forth, throwing those tips out there, really focusing on how we can move into 2021. That still sounds crazy. How we can move into that with momentum and that drive towards our dreams and making real life results happen.
Now, we know that you have targets. You might call them goals, you might call them intentions, you might call them targets, you might have vision, whatever you might call it, right?
You might be like, no, I don't. And the thing is, yes, you do, because you've got a dog, and you got a dog in the first place with a dream in mind. And it's our mission this year to make that dream a reality.
Let's make it happen. Now, you might want to say this out loud to yourself right now. You might want to write it down, or you might not be sort of consciously aware of it. And that's what we're going to do today. We're going to talk through some of the things that we like to do to help us stay motivated, to help us keep in the present moment where we're going with our dogs, what we're aiming and striving for, really, so that we don't just survive this 2021 together, that we actually thrive in this 2021 together.
That sounds exciting. So I guess the first tip is, and we come back to this again and again, and I bet some of you have heard us talk about this before, and you've been like, yeah, I'll do that later, or I don't see why that's going to make a big difference. It's crucial. And that is that you're going to grab a piece of paper. You are going to grab a pen or pencil, and you are going to write down exactly what the dream looked like that made you get a dog in the first place. Now, the important reason for that is because the human brain, what tends to happen is we are presented with our everyday reality. It doesn't fill us with happiness, and we experience frustration, dissatisfaction, sadness, disappointment. And of course, you're thinking, well, I've never experienced emotions quite that strong in relation to my dog. I love my dog. But the point is that often we see the things that aren't quite right, but it's when we actually identify how we do want things to look that we can move towards them with our dogs.
And I think it's important. So what's going to happen? They're going to get the pen and paper.
Yep. You're going to get your pen and paper. You are going to stick on the record player, some Spice Girls.
It might be Spotify, and it might be like cool hits.
Yeah,
but
it might not be Spice Girls.
If you're a bit like Tom and you see yourself as a bit of a sporty Spice or whatever
Spice
else.
Girls, Little Mix, whatever.
Spice up your life.
Yeah, basically, yeah. So you're gonna spice up your life. You're gonna stick some music on that makes you feel great, and you are going to set a timer on your phone. The timer is going to read 90 seconds, and you are going to press go on that timer, and the rule is that the pen starts moving and it cannot stop until the timer stops. Now, what you're going to be writing with said pen is all the different things that you imagined that made you get a dog in the first place, all the different visions, all the different activities, all the different experiences you would have with your dog, maybe the emotions that you'd feel going through the world with your dog. Maybe it's one of teamwork, one of trust, one of real companionship. And when the timer stops, you're then going to read what you wrote. Now, the thing is, when somebody says to you, don't let the pen stop moving, you're probably thinking you're going to write nonsense. The thing is, everything that's going to come out of your brain is probably in some way true or important or valued by you. And what you're then going to do is you're going to go through that, reading it, and you're going to underline the things that really, really resonate with you when you're reading it. These are the what do I wants. And what we're going to do is we're going to replace the what don't I wants that you're seeing every day with the what do I wants, which are on the paper right now.
And then when you've got these on the paper right now, it's kind of having that sort of, I don't know, that dream, that vision that sets you on fire, right? Like it literally makes you feel alive. It's whether it is you have a sports dog and you have some set sports goals, whether you've got a pet dog and you've got some real like recall or focus or walking goals, whatever it might be, those are the things that like sort of keep us alive. They keep us sort of firing. And when you have those targets, those visions, those goals, actually you move in those directions without even realizing it, because there's that great saying where focus goes, energy flows. So you know what, most people, they like to focus on the problem. Most people sit in the negative. Most people sit in worrying about what the problem is and trying to control things that are completely out of their control. This is in your control. You can focus on it, and this is the direction we want you and your dog to move in.
Yeah, absolutely. And the cool thing is that on this paper, it's something that, you know, is I mean, to use the vocabulary of Spice Girls, it's spicy, right? That, you know, there's some substance to it. It's the difference between, you know, saying, oh, I want to lose half a kilo, and actually I want to step into a life where I am physically fit, athletic, vibrant, energetic, so that I can, you know, experience things that I didn't previously experience and provide for my friends and family and support them because I am now in this energetic state. I'm all for the second one, the losing half a kilo. That doesn't excite me. And what we've got to do is we've got to create these really vibrant goals that fill us with passion, that we actually want to move towards, that actually excite us. So that's kind of the first tip we've got for you.
Now, I think that when we consider 2021, right, like there's a whole year ahead of us. So personally, my tip would be, let's go 3 weeks at a time. So let's actually look at a 3-week training plan, because I like 3 weeks. 3 weeks, I might pick 15 games. And I know that might sound a lot. And if you don't have 15 games, then you're probably not part of the Sexier and the Squirrel challenge, because there are many games on there. I think probably 30 odd. So actually, there's lots of games you can access over there. Sexier and the Squirrel Academy, maybe you're a pro dog trainer, maybe you've got some of the courses that we offer on Absolute Dogs. But basically, I'd pick 15 games, whether they're Absolute Dogs games or games that you like to play. 15 games. From those 15 games, I would have a 3-week plan, and those 15 games would be games that align with the thing that I have in my vision.
What's on your paper, right? That's what they need to align with.
So for me, let's say recall, I'm going to pick proximity games. So games that kind of link to be close to me. So games that mean I want you near me. I want you to hang out with me. I want you to check me out. I can give examples like, I don't know, let's go the weather games. So tornado, thunder, typhoon, some of the old favorites. Or
and
it
guys,
might be...
if any of the games that Lauren references you don't know about, well, you should know about them. And the way that you can know about them is by going to absolutedogs.me/sexy. Jump into that Sexier than a Squirrel challenge.
I mean, it's hugely discounted, isn't it?
Yeah, it's over 70% off right now. And guys, the thing is that this isn't the first time we've talked about this challenge. And so there have probably been some times where you thought, oh, I'll do it later. You know what? 2021, how about we do it right now?
Make it your day.
So it's absolutedogs.me/sexy. Anyway, Lauren.
So you've got your 15 games, you've got your 3 weeks. You really, well, for me, I'm looking at 5 games a week, and I'm looking at sort of amalgamating them across the week and kind of going, I'll do 3 of these, I'll do 2 of these, I'll do 1 of those, I'll mess around with 2 there, I'll do 1 here. And it's the little things I do day by day that will enable me to make this happen. So for example, right now, I am setting an intention that every morning I go out intentionally and I train my young dog. And I'm working on something with him every single day that aligns with what's on my paper. And that, for me, I know in 3 weeks will build up to the end behavior that I'm looking for. And it just makes it happen. It makes it, you cannot go wrong. Like, you really can't.
No, absolutely. And as we've talked about before, in previous episodes, it's not the big grand gestures that, create those real life results. It's the little bit of focus day in, day out. And it doesn't have to be much, right? But it's the day by day that really matters, because that's what reshapes your dog's brain. Otherwise, if we don't do the day by day, well, life and the world is reshaping your dog's brain in the meantime, and that takes you to a very different place that, we've all walked that path of letting the world train our dogs, and we know where it leads. And so let's be intentional. Let's commit to just that little bit, that 1% improvement each and every day.
And that 1% improvement each and every day has a vast, the impact is massive.
Yeah.
And for me, I know that at the end of those 3 weeks, I can then reassess, reevaluate, and decide whether I need to set another 3 weeks, whether I need to change it, adapt it, whether I need to turn it on its head. Literally, I can then readjust, because for me, looking at the whole year can become a little bit overwhelming.
Yeah.
Actually, looking at 3 weeks makes it very, very achievable and doable. And also, it doesn't go too far where I actually then don't know how I can sort of, get it back. So for me, 3 weeks is nice. Like, 3 weeks feels good.
Yeah, absolutely. So next tip that we've got for you is one of the common, one of the common kind of obstacles, let's call them, that people don't overcome when it comes to, setting New Year's resolutions and achieving those goals, not just setting them, is actually that action inertia, that difficulty in getting started. And that, the interesting thing is that stems from a big misunderstanding that's hardwired into all of us from a very young age, and that is that we're told that life is a fairy tale, and we're told that a story has a beginning and it has an end, and there is one path through the story, and effectively training, learning, growing life is a linear process. There is one next step.
A linear process, right?
Yeah.
Like, people, and we've had this throughout our whole journey with Absolute Dogs and the Training Academy and Pro Dog Trainer. People love a step-by-step analysis, right? Like, and that's what they would like a lot of the time.
And the thing is, that's based on the idea that there is just one next best step. There is just one, there's one good step, and there are many bad steps that you can take next. So what happens is you enter this stage of analysis paralysis where you're like, I'm going to make a plan about the plan, about the plan, about the plan. And you never actually implement any of the plan. And the key is that actually, really, life, especially dog training, it's not a linear process. There are many next steps that you can take. In fact, there are many, many hundreds of games that you can play. And those of you in Training Academy, you'll know the hundreds of games, and that there really are that many that will, you play them and they will move you towards where you want to go. And yet you could equally pick 100 other games and they would still move you to where you want to go. Part of it is the variety that's going to get you there, and that understanding that there are many next steps is important. But the second thing is sometimes we'll have a go at something and our dogs are like, oh, I'm not ready for that. And if you think that then that's just the only next step, you get stuck. You're like, well, I'm drilling the recall, repeatedly drilling the recall, and my recall's not getting better. And really all I can do is just go harder on drilling the recall, and your dog's saying no, and you're in a state of being stuck. And we've all been there. But the reality is we take a step back and we think, you know what? I can play this game, and this game. I could boost proximity. Maybe my dog's recall's poor because they're so stimulated by the environment, and maybe I need to inspire some calmness. Maybe they're worried about the environment, so maybe I need to inspire some optimism with a different set of games. The cool thing is that when we think about a three-dimensional approach, when we think about many, many possible next steps, you lose the action inertia, because it's literally all we're saying is, get started, play a game, any game, get started.
Take action. Okay, so number 4, tip 4 for me would be, consider with your motivation, with your goal, with your target, with your vision, who are you surrounding yourself with that is going to help make this mission possible?
Yeah.
So for me, who I align myself with, who I surround myself with, whether that is the people online and that is the community that I'm working within, or whether it's my family, my friends, and the people around me, if I haven't got good energy that I'm surrounded by, it makes it much harder to achieve that mission, to make that thing happen, because we need that alignment in the people that surround us, right, Tom?
Absolutely. And that's why, when you jump into the Sexier Than a Squirrel challenge, or you jump into Training Academy, or whatever it might be, we actively make sure that there is a Facebook community, a support group there. Now, the reason why that is because if you don't have at least 3 people in your life that are going to raise you up rather than pull you down, then chances of success are distant. And yet, if you can just harness, 3 people that raise you up, the cool thing is when you jump into those Facebook groups, there are thousands of people that raise you up, lift you up, and really make sure that progress is happening. And, that's when day by day you're being supported. And instead of, have you ever had that where you've kind of signed up to something or you've considered something and it feels like you're being pushed, like you're being pushed or forced, and you're like, oh gosh, okay, yeah, no, I know that date's coming up, I know that I've got that goal and I'm pushing myself to the gym. The thing is, when you surround yourself with people that raise you up, when you have that kind of vibrant, spicy goal that we started this with, you actually get pulled to it.
And I'm going to give an example here. So I've had a weave challenge going with my agility academy of students, and that's really made me like move it on. Yeah. And it's because I'm surrounded by cool energy people. I've set the standard, I've set the goal, I've set the dates and the plan, and to deliver it is the only option, right, when you get to that space. So that really kept me accountable, having that group behind what I was doing and making that vision a reality. And then another really good example for me is I do attend a really fun, positive class at our own centre, and that for me is a great thing to do with my young dog, because I get in there and it's such a cool energy. Now I know that some classes are not cool energies, and I know there are many classes that don't light you up. Here's the thing: you need to find the communities that light you up. You need to surround yourself with the energy that makes you think, yes, I'm going to jump out of bed in the morning. I've got this. I am Lara Croft. I am Superman. I do my power pose, whatever that might be. And when you lift yourself up with people like that, you cannot fail, because failure is just not an option when you surround yourself with the right kind of energies and people. And I think this is the thing to know, that you can't choose necessarily your family, you can't choose necessarily who your close neighbour is. You can choose the communities you hang out with, and you can say what time is appropriate to spend with those people and those families and friends and whoever else. You can make those happen.
Absolutely. So final tip is, wherever you are right now, it is not where you need to stay. What we want you to do is take a step back from your situation, your day-to-day situation. You might be firefighting, you might be troubleshooting, you might be very carefully managing, your dog might be throwing a lot at you. And we want you to imagine something. You probably heard me say this before, it's a favourite, and that is that somewhere in the world right now, there is a dog chasing down a criminal, right? Somewhere in the world, there is a dog living in a handbag. We are working with the most versatile, flexible, dynamic, and moldable species on the planet, with the exception of humans, right? And so, absolutely, whatever your dog might be, whatever their skills might be right now, whatever their weaknesses are right now, whatever struggles they've got, they don't need to stay that way. We're working with something incredibly flexible. We're working with something incredibly dynamic, and we've got the tools. The tools are the games. And all you've got to do is take action. So first of all, we should, be aware of that. Secondly, we should be grateful for that. And thirdly, we should probably just take action on that and play some games.
Like literally. Elvis says, a little less conversation, a little more action, please. Well, he doesn't say it, he sings it. Tom's about to do that for you. No,
it's not going to happen.
Okay, I tried. And so guys, you got the message, right? Like you take the action, less conversation, get on with it. Like absolutely. Really is.
So with that, a little less conversation, a little more action. That was this episode of the Sexier Than a Squirrel podcast. I love that close. And so with that, guys, we will see you in the next episode of the Sexier Than a Squirrel podcast. In the meantime, you have one job, and that is stay sexy. Hey, before you go, have you taken part in the worldwide Sexier Than a Squirrel challenge?
It's a 25-day online video program, huge energy, amazing community, and over 6,000 people are already taking part.
The only question is, you know where you are today, where do you want to be 25 days from now? Head to absolutedogs.me/sexy.